Let's get going.
And we're back. Oh, and I didn't set Alejandro's camera on the big screen. Sorry, Alejandro. Let me fix that.
Yeah, that's fine. My feelings aren't hurt.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so, so you, as you guys are leaving the saloon, one of Hilton's friends, Jackie Wallace, kind of pulls you guys aside and says, one thing you need to realize, it's a cruel, cruel thing to raise a woman's hopes if they have no intention of seeing it to the bitter end, whatever that may be. He says, justice isn't only for the dead.
Well, this sidebar, but this guy's one to talk, right? He's just sitting in the bar doing nothing. What the hell?
Yeah, fucking.
Trust us, there's no one more bitter than us.
Yeah. I would have loved it, but I'm just really busy, you see.
Exactly how many stories did me and Alejandro fall chasing killers out of a staircase? Yeah, we're going to the bitter end, man.
5.
Yeah,
I can't remember how many
5.
5.
Oh yeah, my god.
Yeah. We literally fell 5 stories chasing after the killers. Yeah, we're going to the bitter end.
Yeah, my fault, by the way. Sorry. Alejandro's just really fat.
Okay, so,
how the hell are we still walking?
I'm assuming
Because
this is wrapping it up for you for Tuesday nights.
Yeah, my character's probably gonna go home and get some dinner.
I got nothing.
Or some shit.
Yeah, let's get some rest and meet up tomorrow. I don't think we have any appointments until Thursday now.
Correct. You have 2 appointments out in Westchester on Thursday. A morning appointment out at Sing Sing. And
Alistair, you need to contact that guy.
Mordecai.
Yep, so I'll spend Wednesday doing some of that and doing some research and seeing what I can find at the library.
So,
I want to do some research too.
So, Rebecca Schosenberg was able to get you Mordecai's contact information. He's over on Park Avenue if you want to stop in, or you can just call him.
Yeah, I think I had a note that he was at the Murray Hill Hotel.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I think a stop in will be good with him. Anybody else want to come along?
Wait, what are you doing?
I'm going to go visit Dr. Mordecai Lemming on Wednesday.
Do you need someone to get shot? Or just, we can probably
You
not.
need someone to get hit or get scared? Because I could do that.
I was thinking we'd bring along our lie detector. Or first.
Yeah, who's got the highest psychology?
I have a 60. I'll go with you.
Okay.
We'll just assume everybody's lying.
It needs a little intimidation.
Yeah. But yeah, Alejandro's just gonna go home.
Okay, so I'm going to be stopping in there on Wednesday. It looks like just me and Martin.
I'm going to work on my disguise.
So we're splitting the party.
Well, yes, we are.
That never goes wrong.
I'd like to do 2 things tomorrow.
Okay.
One, I'll tell you, I'm going to get a good pair of binoculars. Something that's for this time period, it's good, but compacts. You're able to carry around without being too obvious.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that there's a good set in the pulp
Get some
equipment
opera
rule
glass.
book.
Yeah.
Although
So
to be fair, binoculars are still obvious even today.
Hmm.
Yeah.
At least good ones.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you're not bird watching, then you're a peeping Tom.
Well, I figure we're gonna have to do a stakeout at some point.
Oh yeah.
Second, and I figure this is what library use comes in handy. If you go, would be the library, the city hall, have the maps and like the city plans.
what do you want the plans for?
I'd like to know basically what exactly is around the Choo Choo House, and if possible, see if we can't research to the ownership and everything in there, because I have a feeling at some point we're going in, so let's be prepared.
Okay.
See how well I stink at this. And there we go.
You should push that if you got 50 in library use.
50. How do I push?
You
You
tell
push-
me
you
what
basically
you're
just-
doing to push the roll, and if you fail a second time, something really bad happens.
Yeah.
Your Rolls Royce burns down.
I let's say I try to tip somebody to give me a hand. I guess if I fail, I'm going to have to really tip them.
If you fail, they're going to assume, sir, I don't offer hand jobs in a library. Yeah, give you a hand.
All right.
Nice.
Okay, so you managed to pay off one of the research assistants, and they tell you that well, you're not going to find that information in the section with the phone books. Why don't you come over to the section that actually has all the all of the city planning documents that's on a
Yeah.
different floor, and so. Unfortunately, you don't learn that much more information than you already knew. The one thing that you do find out from all the plans that you didn't necessarily know is that the building does have a basement. Other than
Okay.
that, the owner is Silas Nakawi, who you've met. He's listed as the owner of the building. And there's the abandoned pawn shop also off of Ransom Court, and the kind of tenement buildings around it. So pretty much the only piece of new information that you're learning here is that the building does have a basement according to the plans.
Okay. Is everything surrounding it like tenement buildings and things pretty confirmed, or is there any other business?
Yeah, there's the. Let me show you on the map. Let's bring this up. Drop you guys in here. So you've got. So this is Ransom Court here,
Mhm.
and you've got the entrance to the Juju house here. You've got this abandoned pawn shop that's over here that has and then just like all around here are just tenement buildings, all
Okay.
around
Uh,
this whole.
Because I'm figuring out
area here.
where we're going to stay. If we're going to do a stakeout at any point, best vantages and whether or not maybe best if we can go through the. I'm just still wondering if we can't go through the abandoned pawn shop at some point too. Just food for thought. That's all.
I'm actually just wondering something. Sorry to interrupt, but would it have been possible for you to like discuss this with Alejandro so he could probably join you? You know, he might.
Sure. I was pretty open with what I was going to be doing.
All right, awesome. And I think Alejandro would probably buy like a crowbar or something if that's possible. You could just go to a hardware store and get it that probably.
I was gonna say there's plenty of them, for sale in
At
the
your work.
library where.
Well, we're going to. I'm going to a sporting goods place or.
Oh yes, for your
that-
binoculars, yes, and you can get ×5 magnifying binoculars, fairly readily for
Yeah.
$12. So save that receipts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and yeah, Alejandro's probably just gonna, say like, I'm going to a hardware store, buy a crowbar just in case we need to go in. And he goes to a
The
hardware store
hard
and gets
way,
a
in
crowbar.
other words.
Yes. You
'Cause
can
remember, I can do the subtle way. You do the hard way.
you try subtle, I try hard. Okay? All right. And he just goes to the hardware store, gets a crowbar. How much would that cost, by the way? Actually, hang on.
Crowbar, couple bucks.
Okay. Fuck it. Yeah, he could get that.
Less than binoculars.
Yes, less than binoculars.
Now, there's a chance you already have one. You work in construction.
I'm not stealing from work. That could be
No.
traced back, you dig?
No, not necessarily. I mean, you might still have your
You
own
might have your own tools.
tools.
Yeah, I would have my own tools, but not necessarily a crowbar.
Got standards.
Come on, man. I already got a shotgun.
Head open, but I am not stealing from work.
Hey, come on. He makes a living doing that.
Just saying.
But yeah, he's just gonna buy a crowbar.
I call it my persuader.
Yeah, fucking. So how much damage would that do? Would that be like the same as a large club or something?
Yeah.
Or a blackjack? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, sorry about that. Continue.
Anyway, so as a reminder, the pawn shop actually has two entrances. There's an entrance here off of 138th Street, and that's boarded up. And then there's an entrance here in Ransom Court. The door is padlocked.
Okay.
This appears to be the back door, and this here appears to have been the front door, but it's now all boarded up.
Oh, just $2.25 for a crowbar, according to the rule book.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's all good to know for future. I'm not actually planning on implementing any of this knowledge at this moment. It's something I would want to discuss with everybody.
Okay.
But I figured get it out so that it said that I've done it instead of having to backtrack.
Okay.
Unless Alejandro can think of something else we should be looking up in the city.
To be honest, not really. He's not really he's not really one who knows like where the drugs are or any streetwise type shit. He's only been here for a few years. But yeah, he's probably just gonna help you stake out or some shit.
Alistair and Martin then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like Crockett and Tubbs, only it's engineer and badass.
All right, I guess it's over to Murray Hill Hotel to
Okay.
meet with this guy, the crackpot doctor.
Okay, so Dr. Lemming's address is the Murray Hill Hotel, East 40th Street and Park Avenue. The double stairway at the hotel's Park Avenue entrance leads up into the marble-lined reception hall, where the decor has changed little since the hotel's opening in 1884. A polite clerk at the reception desk greets you and asks if he may be of assistance.
Did we set an appointment with this guy before we came over?
Now we're just showing up. So I guess we ask at the desk for Dr. Mordecai Lemming's room, please.
Okay. So he says, okay, wait 1 minute, and he picks up, the house phone and gives a ring up to the Dr. Lemming's room to see if he's around and willing to accept visitors. He says, who may I ask is calling?
I'll tell him it's Alistair. I'm the curator at the Museum of Natural History, and Rebecca Chosenberg has given us his name.
Okay. So Dr. Lemming agrees to see you, and the clerk tells you to head on up the stairs and go up to the second floor, and it's room 204.
All right, so we'll head up to 204 and knock on the door.
Perfect. So the doctor is waiting for you outside his apartment door and looks delighted to see you and ushers you into his opulent but overcrowded rooms. There's Rococo detailing on the walls and ceilings, fighting for your attention amongst a plethora of books and seeming random objects from every continent, all with the shared theme of myth and folklore. And he says, sit down, my dear friends. So what brings you in to see me today? What can I help you with? I'm always happy to meet a fellow pursuer of knowledge.
Well, today we're here on your knowledge of the. Let's see. This guy was. Rebecca's the one that turned us on to him. We're investigating what appears to be the cult of the bloody tongue, and its connection to the murders that have been occurring. It appears as one of our friends has been murdered by the same cult that supposedly has been pinned on Hilton Adams.
So he kind of giggles a little bit nervously and reaches to his hip and takes out a hip flask and says that he needs a little bit of a medicinal nip from his nerve tonic in order to talk about that. He kind of takes a breath to settle himself and says, well, all I can really tell you is what I told the police, that I believe that the mark is that of an African death cult, or more likely someone mimicking the symbol of an African death cult in order to stir up ill feeling. He says, I'm very sorry to hear about Jackson's death. Although I'm thoroughly perplexed by it. I either the police have the wrong man in prison, or Adams must have been working with an accomplice.
All right.
He
What
says,
makes you think that?
he says, if you want to know more about African folklore and cult histories, then I'd suggest that Mr. Silas Nakawi at the Juju House in Harlem may be able to help you. He
Of
Oh, this
course
is
he
awkward.
would.
he fairly regularly sends me trinkets that he knows are of interest to my studies, and he charges very reasonable prices to boot.
Do you know Mr. McCauley on a social basis?
Not socially, but we've been doing a little bit of business together for I'd say 3 years now.
Are you planning to purchase anything from him in the near future?
He usually just sends me things that catch my eye, and then I send him the money if I like it.
What? I guess sidebar with Bill.
Mhm.
Do you think we should let this guy know that we think that McCauley is involved with the death cult?
Yeah, I don't think that would hurt too much. This guy appears to be kind of the bookwormish type. I don't think he's the actual cult type at this point. Maybe we could try psychology on him and see what kind of reaction we get.
Well, maybe we can get him on side if he has some kind of commercial relationship with the owner of the Juju House. Maybe we can get him to get McCauley out of the Juju House so we can take a closer look.
Yeah.
You know, if we were playing a drinking game with the Juju House, we'd really be drunk by now.
Oh yeah, we'd probably be dead.
Yeah. So can we talk to this guy and say that we believe that McCauley is involved with the Black Tongue cult? Because there's been we have someone who's been watching the Juju House, and based on the foot traffic at odd hours,
He just kind of laughs and says, "Oh, guys, there's no such thing as the bloody tongue in New York." He says, I'm 100% convinced that the cult doesn't really exist here. It's just someone trying to stir up trouble in Harlem.
Why would they be stirring up trouble in Harlem?
It's a trap. Get
What
out.
makes you
Harlem.
so sure?
He says, well, these types of things they don't really exist outside of Africa.
Well, we believe that 3 members of the cult or a copycat cult were the people who were responsible for killing Jackson Elias.
He says, well, I don't really know what to make of that. What did the police say?
Well, we were actually there. We got there shortly after Jackson was murdered, and we were the ones who apprehended the cultists. And they disappeared from police custody after they were transferred to the Harlem precinct.
I don't really know what to make of that, but I'd say you probably want to talk to Captain Robson if you have any suspicions about that. I mean, he's the one that I talked to about the death cult originally.
All right, this guy has a little too much knowledge of the workings here.
Can I, Captain Robson, just, that's the captain of the precinct in Harlem, right? The one who...
Yeah, he's the one that I talked to and gave the information about the when they came to me to ask about the symbol.
Yeah, he's the one that we dealt with and disappeared the guys. And I'm gonna take a look around and see if in this mess I can spot anything hidden. And of course I can. So.
It's just like it's not quite hoarder level, but there's a lot of all sorts of crazy stuff around.
Can I make a spot hidden roll?
Sure.
All right.
So, I mean, you see some knickknacks and books that pertain to Africa, but none of them are like super like scream like you don't see like the phrase book to talking to the black tongue or anything like that. You do definitely see some things that you think have probably come from the Juju house. They match some of the they look like some of the trinkets that you saw Silas selling. Um, it didn't look like it looked like the kind of stuff that was in the kind of junky section of Silas's place. It doesn't nothing nothing that like you don't find a cultist mask or anything like that.
Can we ask this guy if he'd be willing to help us take a closer look at the Juju house? Because we've been there before, and the proprietor.
Well, I'd certainly be willing to call over and you know tell Silas that I'm sending a couple of friends over to purchase some, to look at his wares. He says, I really don't leave the house that often.
Is he?
Suddenly, like, so this really clicks in for Martin because you get the hard spot hidden. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here, and you kind of get the feeling this guy might be a shut-in.
Which feeds into the whole crackpot thing. And yeah. There's been a book that we've been looking for, Africa's Dark Secrets by Nigel Blackwell. It seems to have disappeared from just about everybody's collection that we've been looking for. Have you ever come across that?
He says, I don't think I've ever heard of that book.
Okay. I was just figuring a learned man like yourself might have a copy of that lying around somewhere.
No, unfortunately I don't. Sounds interesting, but I've never heard of it.
Okay, well, yeah, we'd appreciate you letting Silas know that you've got a couple of friends coming, and let him know that we're friendly to him.
Certainly, yeah. No, I'd be more than happy to call him on your behalf.
I think that's all I've got for him. And thank him for his time, and if he has anything for us, he can leave messages at the museum for us.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Anything else that you guys want to try to get done today?
When is the new moon? Next new moon?
It is Saturday night into Sunday.
Okay.
Anything else for you guys? Jesse, you've been awful quiet today.
Nope. I mean, it's all kind of the same investigation. Maybe we've gone about this kind of. Maybe we missed these earlier on or something like this, but they're all kind of pointing the same way. So I think I'm just hanging out until we can meet with the Carlisle folks.
Okay.
Yeah, everything seems to be pointing in the same direction.
So.
Let's just rename this campaign to Assault on Juju House.
Oh, I'm almost guaranteed that's where we're going down.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You watch your fight scene with bloody guns blazing, blood. I'm willing to bet it's going to go down in the Juju House. And since we found out it's got a basement, I'm willing to lay money on it. That's going to go down in the basement of the Juju House.
Maybe we should get a car so we could, leave the town or possibly the country on short notice on Sunday.
You are traveling via Canada?
We should
Are there any
get a
Zeppelin
boat or
flights?
something. Does anyone have like seamanship skill?
Or Zeppelin pilots.
Yeah,
Zeppelins technically weren't around, but I always let Zeppelins in any.
Oh no, they were around.
24. I think the first large scale Zeppelins weren't until the 30s.
Graf Zeppelin started doing tours in the 20s, but I mean.
But I thought that was only like over like a 100-mile radius tops. Like the first.
Graf Zeppelin was transatlantic. I mean, I should look that up.
Nice.
There weren't a lot of them. So.
I seriously remember that being in the Pulp rulebook somewhere. That technically they're not there in a 20s campaign, but that you can feel free to include them if you want to. And so I want to. So sure, you can. What could possibly go wrong on a Zeppelin?
Oh, the humanity.
Wait, what year was it?
1928, when it looks like the commercial Zeppelin started.
What year are we in now?
24.
Ah.
Or sorry, 25. January 25.
They were used by the Germans in their bombing campaign against Britain in World War One.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the
short
military's
range,
using
but
them.
not transatlantic. Okay, so Thursday morning, you guys are heading out to Sing Sing Prison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We can steal the USS Los Angeles. It was built in 1983.
I'm looking at USS Shenandoah. Let me see here.
So let me ask, how are you heading out to Westchester? Are you
Zeppelin?
Are you all piling into someone's car? Are you taking a couple of cars? Are you renting a car? Are you taking the train?
I thought we rented the rolls.
Hiring a car service.
Yes. Higgins, my good man, to Westchester.
Which is the best, Chester?
Yeah, I think car service is best.
Okay.
Bet. Somebody that knows the routes.
Okay, so
Dressed in my finest because we're meeting with society women.
I've got all this crazy flavor text background about Sing Sing, but if you guys aren't at all interested in it, I can skip it. Okay.
I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, me either.
So Sing Sing was built over the course of 3 years, from 1825 to 1828. It was the third major prison in New York. It was built by prisoners from New York's second prison, which is Auburn. And it is also the origin of the term going up the river. It was built next to the village of Sint Sink, or which which turned into Sink Sink, which turned into Sing Sing, on the east bank of the Hudson River. The prison lies approximately 30 miles north of New York City. The prison's reputation was so bad that in 1902, Sint Sink changed its name to O Sing Sing to distance itself from the facility on its doorstep. It was originally run under the brutal Auburn system. The conditions of Sing Sing began to change during the early 20th century, particularly under the wardenship of Lewis Laws, who took control in January of 1920, as well as instituting a sweeping building program to replace the original overcrowded and crumbling brick cell house. Laws brought in an educational and recreational program meant to reform and retrain the inmates rather than just punish them. During his reform agenda, Laws still presided over the execution of 303 prisoners during his 21-year tenure. The jail electrocuted its first prisoner in 1891 in the specially built Death House, where death row inmates were kept in a stone prison within a prison. The electric chair, named Old Sparky, electrocuted 3 other men that day. By 1916, all of New York State's executions took place at Sing Sing, prompting the construction of a new death house to begin in 1920, and 2 years later it went into operation. So, yeah, New York killed a lot of people back in those days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's a new one, so there'll be less spirits there.
Yeah.
All right. So the death house at Sing Sing sits in the lower corner of the prison, next to the river. When you get there, so let me ask: did any of you come armed?
Hell no.
No.
Not today.
I leave my gun in the car.
Leave your Maxim gun.
I don't have that yet. Just one
No, we're good.
Okay. The guards do pat you down as before you're allowed in. And then they escort you down the hill and over the railroad tracks to the death house. You're greeted at the 2-story brick entrance to the building by George Brunton, the sub-warden in charge of the facility. He escorts you through the entrance building to Hilton Adams' cell block. Brunton explains that you have 30 minutes to speak with Hilton through the bars of his cell. You may not exchange any items with the prisoner, and any attempts to do so will result in the interview's termination and your removal from the premises. Adam's cell is cramped with just enough room for a lavatory, a metal frame bed, and a small desk and a chair. There are no external windows. The only natural light entering the cell comes from the windows across the corridor that face the death house's interior courtyards. Adams is waiting for you, seated on the edge of his bed, as near to the bars of his cell as he can get. He says, "I would shake your hand, but I don't think that would go down too well, eh, Mr. Brunton?" Brunton merely grunts in a not unfriendly reply before taking a few steps back to give you a little bit of privacy.
Well, I don't know how much.
Met with your wife.
Yes, how much she told you what to expect us coming here to see you. But we'll be brief and to the point as much as we can because we know we have such a short time span here. Sir, we believe you to be innocent of the crime that you're been convicted of. And we are seeking justice not only for yourself, but for our friend who we believe to be yet another victim of this cult.
So Adams seems a little bit skeptical. He does say that he's sorry to hear there's been another murder, and he knows that there's going to be more if the perpetrators aren't stopped. He says he'll answer your questions. You've come a long way to see him, so
We got 30 minutes, right?
yep.
Is that what he said?
So this is what.
So
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. If there's something specific you want to ask about.
no, I mean we
Juju House.
really told us. We tell him that we visited with his friends at Teddy's Saloon.
So
If there's anything specific.
here's what he can tell you, especially when you mention the Juju House. He kind of gets a little bit of a gleam in his eye, and he says, well, let me start at the beginning. He says, I suspect that the disappearances have been going on for years, although how long I couldn't say. I really only started noticing them after I got back from the war in 1919, but they could have been going on for a lot longer than that. He says, once we spotted something going on, it became clear that the disappearances took place on a monthly basis. They always took place during the dark of the moon, which I suppose makes perfect sense if you're going to abduct someone. The murders, on the other hand, didn't appear to have any fixed schedule. They seemed to happen in response to something specific. I'm certain the last one, well, I'm sorry, the 8th one, was carried out just to frame me. He says, it wasn't my knife that was used to murder the victim. I had more sense than to take my bolo with me on patrol, knowing that the previous victims had all been killed with a large knife. Instead, I carried my Army-issue revolver for protection. He insists that the knife was taken when the police searched his tenement rooms and later covered with the victim's blood in order to secure his conviction. He says he did discover another pattern shortly before he was arrested. None of the abductions or murders took place within a 2-block radius of West 137th Street, between Lenox Ave and the Harlem River, apart from the one that saw him arrested. Beyond that clear area, the abductions fanned out in a rough circle about a mile west of the Harlem River. The locations where the bodies were found was more spread out and sometimes crossed into neighboring police precincts. He said, well, following up on Mordecai Lemming's pronouncement about the African death cult, they'd found something called the Cult of the Bloody Tongue in the New York Public Library that allegedly had links back to Kenya. And the only place in the area that had ties with Africa was an emporium called the Juju House, run by a man named Silas Nakawe, who received regular shipments of goods from there. And even though the shop had been there for years, there's just something about the place that gave me the creeps. He said, I didn't manage much surveillance of the Juju House before the police came for me, but I did follow a muscular, shaven-haired African man, probably in his late 30s, early 40s, from the Juju House up to a coffee shop on 139th and 6th, above Fat Mabel's Speakeasy. No one seemed keen to talk about the man, and several people warned me to walk away, but I did get a name, Makunga Madari. I'm certain that was when whoever was behind the murders decided that I was becoming a threat. He said I never got the chance to tell any of my friends about Madari.
Does he have any of the? We tell him that his wife told us that the police took his journal. Does he have any of his original research?
No, I kept everything, written down in that journal, and or in my head, but that was it. The only other thing I had that was concrete evidence was that piece of the mask that I took off that one cultist, but the police took that too. He describes the mask that one cultist was wearing, and it sounds an awful lot like the masks that you saw the cultist that killed Jackson wearing.
Anything to ask this guy?
Have you ever run into Madari before?
No, I followed him that couple of times that I saw him coming out of the Juju house. I wasn't able to keep it under surveillance for very long before the police came for me.
Do you know any of the police? Do you see police going in and out? Do you know which ones?
I never saw any police go in or out of the Juju house, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Take a guess. What kind of business do you think they're doing there?
He said, well, obviously they're selling something, but I think that they've got something sinister going on in there.
Would you know the names of or recognize anybody besides this individual?
The only other one was the proprietor, that Silas Nakawi. So about this time, Warden Brunton comes on over and says, well, gentlemen, I'm sorry, your time is up. You're always welcome to come back another time, provided that Adams hasn't had his date with old Sparky yet.
When is that?
Well, that's up to the state. That's above my pay grade. So he escorts you guys out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we tell them to hang in there, and see what we can do.
Alrighty.
Hang in there may not be the right phrase.
Now, saying that it's shocking that he got caught that would be the wrong phrase.
Wah wah.
It's going to be an electrifying experience.
Oh.
Okay. On that note, are you heading up to the Carlisle Estates?
Yeah, I guess it's time to
Yeah,
go meet with her.
Go back by like 5 p.m. or something, right?
Sorry.
Oh, never mind.
You have to
It's
bring
probably
the
too late. I just thought of one question I would have asked him. We sort of ran out. I guess we ran out of time.
Dope.
Oh well.
Okay, so you you head up the road about 15 minutes and eventually come to the beautiful Carlisle estate. There's an elegant 3-story mansion and 5 acres of superb grounds, all guarded by a 12-foot high iron fence with sharpened finials. There's 2 armed gatekeepers that ask for your names, and when they see that you're on the list, open up the gate for you and let you guys head up towards the house. As you're heading up towards the house, you do notice other guardsmen walking the over the grounds, some of them with dogs. So you make it up to the estate, and Ms. Carlyle and Mr. Gray are both waiting for you. I think I've got tokens for them. Yes, I do. Erica Carlyle, Bradley Gray. And there's also Erica's, you're introduced to Erica's valet. What's his name? Joe Corey. So Bradley kind of, makes the introduction since you've met him before, and introduces, to Ms. Carlyle and her valet. You get the idea that Joe is a little bit more than a simple valet. You think bodyguard would probably be a more apt description of him.
I wonder how big and strong does he look compared to Alejandro?
Wait,
We
me
did
one
have a
s-
discussion in the car before we came up here that would be a bad thing.
Just in case.
Give me a second to.
when did we meet Bradley?
You met Bradley Gray at his office
Oh, that's
last
attorney.
session.
Okay, never mind. Yep.
Erica Carlisle, Jonah Kensington, Joe Corey. Joe Corey has a build of 2, size of 80.
Hey, I also have build of 2 and size of 80, so we're like on the same height.
Yeah, you're both 2 big beefy dudes, and
Except he's an
you know
Englishman and I'm a
you
fucking...
kind of like size each other up and both kind of nod respectfully at each other, but know that both of you know that if
shit hits the fan, I'm
shit hits
going
the
for you
fan,
first.
that you're both totally ready, willing, and able to throw down.
Oh, yeah.
So
And I'm guessing he's a younger guy, or is he like in his late 30s or something?
he is in his late 30s.
Okay. Not too much of an age difference. Alejandro's 41, Jesus Christ.
Whereas Erica is in her mid. Actually, you know this from the society pages. So Erica is 26.
Okay.
She's an old maid.
So
And she's rich, powerful.
So she, the three of you kind of sit down
Wait, what kind of story did we tell to get in here again?
Pretty much the truth.
Yeah, we brought up the note that we found. Which one was it?
Your brother's still alive note?
That doesn't look like they're dead. He
Are you sure it was the brother or not another member of the expedition?
was found in Hong Kong or something like that.
Actually, like all the Caucasian, they only found the remains of the African dudes. They didn't find any Caucasian remains.
Yeah, it's with the Americas 12.
So Erica kind of, looks you all over and says, "So I hear you wanted to talk about my brother's foibles down in Africa."
Are you still looking for him?
No, my brother's dead.
Kind of raise my eyebrows and look over at the other guys.
Well, that is the accepted story.
We may have some news for you then.
So here's what she kind of is willing to share at the beginning. She says, from the beginning, I knew that Roger's African expedition was much more than just another one of his foolish whims. I believe that some secret fascinated and worried him. She says, that Negro woman, Bonet, caused Roger's obsession. Penny, you want to make a psychology roll, you can.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, so, okay, yeah, so, Sean, you know all the things. So
She's an open book.
You pretty well gather that she's super racist. And in her mind, so there had been some rumors that you'd heard that Roger had a black woman that he was seeing right before he went off to Africa, and in Erica's mind, like, this was not only an unforgivable thing, but this was that his entanglement with an undereducated African woman only helped underline how depraved his tastes had become. Anyway, she goes on to say that Roger had begun to have strange dreams in which something seemed to beckon him and call him. Roger would wake up screaming, but absolutely refused to discuss the dreams any further than that, at least with her. In an attempt to help her brother, Erica had recommended that Roger visit Dr. Robert Houston. He was the lion of Erica's social sets. She believes that Houston must have talked Roger into the expedition, undoubtedly with that Bonet woman's collusion. She feels very guilty about introducing them, but she's convinced that it was all Bonet's fault that Roger ultimately lost his grip on reality. Her brother began to disappear for days and then suddenly turn up wild-eyed and crazy, saying only that he'd been to Harlem. Roger told her that Benet was queenly, that she was a priestess, and that she held secrets which he must have. For a while, Erica encouraged the African expedition, supposing that eventually Roger would come to his senses and see that Benet and her tales were mumbo jumbo. But then he went off to Africa and got himself killed. She knows a little bit about the folks who, the principles of the Carlisle expedition. If you need any other information.
Well, from what we've heard, Jack Brady was also quite close to Roger on that.
Oh yes, he was fantastically loyal to Roger, someone whom Roger could always trust. In California, Roger's lawyers had saved Brady from a certain conviction for murder. This occurred while Roger had spent a semester at USC, having previously been thrown out of Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Miskatonic, and Cornell in quick succession.
Oh. For what reason?
Roger might not have been set out for university life.
I hear that. What happened to this Benet woman?
I don't know, but I never really. She went off to Egypt with them, and then that was it. Never really heard about her after that.
I take it she vanished with them.
Near as I can tell, and good riddance.
Well, Nails Nelson, I suppose, was also on the expedition and was supposed to have disappeared with Jack and Roger. And years later, it looks as though he came across Jack while visiting Hong Kong.
I'm sorry, I don't know that name. I've never heard of that person, but I'm sure that they hired a whole bunch of little people to do this and that while they were over there.
Whole bunch of midgets. It's okay. It's the 20s. You could be politically incorrect. Man, I just have a talent for making things awkward.
But we got to find Jack Brady. He looks like a linchpin on a lot of this.
So I'm looking through all these notes.
Okay, Jack Brady. So yeah, it's Jack Brady that there's evidence that he's still alive.
Right.
So I'm sorry. Did you say that you think Jack is still alive?
Yes, our associate, our good friend Elias Jackson, recently passed away. He was beginning research into writing a book on the Carlisle expedition before he was murdered, and one of his notations that we came across, and one of the things that interested him greatly was evidence finding of Jack Burton about 2 years after the was it that's, he's still alive. I'm not sure the date, maybe 2 years after the incident.
Right, Jack was in Hong Kong and was kind of indicating that the other members of the expedition might be alive as well. I don't know how they would be so far away from Africa and have dropped out of the public view, but there is some indication that the expedition may not have perished.
Or
He
what
says,
they've been up.
I find that pretty hard to believe. I mean, I was over in Africa when the authorities told me that they had found the people who perpetrated this. I have some trouble believing that that it was all a hoax. I feel like if my brother was still alive, he would have contacted me, or at least asked me for money, if nothing else.
Understandable.
Can one of you make a who of you is the most socially upstanding of you? I'm guessing that's going to be Alistair.
Mm-hmm.
Can you make Alistair, can you make a credit rating check?
Did you say you didn't put anything in credit rating?
Yeah, it's a fail.
Okay.
Would you like me to roll it? I have the same one.
I'm an engineer. Should I give it a
Yeah, but
40?
how do you have a 20 credit rating?
Who,
That
me?
was the low end of
This dump stat.
yeah.
Okay.
It was the low end of museum curator. So
Might
it was
as
the
well see
low
what I
end.
get. God damn it.
All right.
Construction workers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somehow I think, that she's not going to really open up to Alejandro so much.
Why?
Seamus, I might believe that
skin.
okay, that she looks at you and seems and says that, well, remind me, what's Seamus's last name?
McGee.
Well, Mr. McGee, just between us, Roger was not very good with money. Roger was always broke. Roger nearly ruined this company. If Roger were still alive, I'm quite sure that he would have done everything he could to get back control of the company and get his hands back on his money. Honestly, that's the biggest reason why I believe my brother is dead.
Be frank, that sounds very plausible and understandable. Unless, of course, could you say if your brother found some other means of finance, would that keep him away? Would you have any other possible reason, or could it?
Any reason to disappear?
Given his tastes, I find it difficult to believe.
Could the other members of his party been covering up his death then?
To what end?
I mean, anything's possible, I suppose, but if he's dead, then I expect that he would have, we've caught his killers and we know what the answer is.
Mm-hmm.
If he's, if he died elsewhere, I don't really understand what
Yeah.
gain would come of that.
Well, I suppose from what you're saying here is that if he had met a bad end on this excursion of his, um, the others really wouldn't have had anything to fear for repercussions because it would have been something to be expected.
Quite.
So them faking their own deaths would have makes no sense either.
Yes.
Unless they found something. What was the reason for Africa, the Kenya? I mean, I thought this was an expedition going to.
I'm assuming that was Bonea's work for trying to bring them back to her homeland. Egypt, at least I understood, because he had all those strange dreams that about Egypt, but I never understood the Kenya angle.
Oh, she was from Kenya?
Somewhere over there, he said she was an African princess.
African princess.
Oh, I'm thinking. I'm not saying this, but based on my earlier role, I'm thinking they might have had a relationship, and she's super racist. So maybe he ran off because he didn't want to put up with sister or American society.
Or maybe that woman just knew the way. Sorry. Fucking.
Does Erica know more about these strange dreams?
He wouldn't
think
ever
as-
really discuss them with me, but that's when I sent him off to my friend Dr. Houston.
Freudian psychology.
Supposedly so Houston was a suave and handsome man. I found him extremely perceptive. He supposedly went on the expedition with Roger in order to continue Roger's treatments.
Treatment. Well, what was his illness?
Oh no,
extreme
I'm sorry,
treatment.
I know it's a little bit avant-garde, but Dr. Houston was a psychologist.
Oh, Freudian.
Yes.
What
Yes,
was he being treated for?
Probably something to do
Trying
with the
to get
brain.
rid of the strange nightmares.
So they were more than just dreams.
Oh, he would wake up screaming. He started acting crazy. I was hoping that Robert could settle him down. Apparently
And
not.
So
You
this
ever
is
make
all
any-
pre-expedition, right?
Yes, this was before the expedition.
Huh.
You ever keep notes on what he dreamt?
So he wasn't.
If he did, never shared them with me.
Maybe the
Do you believe
doctor?
that he was really looking for King Solomon's mines?
I'm not really sure what they were looking for. Roger would get wild hairs about doing strange things all the time, so this really wasn't that out of character for him. He certainly liked to spend the family money.
So Dr. Houston went on the expedition as well. Did he happen to survive the attack, or is he missing as well?
No, they all perished.
Okay. Was wondering if that was somebody we could talk to.
All right, out of character. How did we feel this related to the other murders? Just that it was African in origin.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that lead back to Kenya, right? Take was it our buddy in Peru was Kenyan. This cult seems to be originating from Kenya. The whole Carlisle expedition of Kenya was being investigated by Eli. It's the same sort of thing as Kenya keeps coming up, the same way the Juju House keeps coming up.
So the murders took place all around during the same time period as the expedition, right? Like 1919 is a lot of this stuff, but I'm not quite sure.
And I suppose she doesn't know of anybody that that he might have Roger might have hired that didn't necessarily go all the way to Kenya, or what was an accomplice. Any survivors that weren't with them on those fateful days when they vanished.
I'm afraid I don't know. I wasn't privy to all of the details. I know that they went over to England to do the initial planning. There might be someone over there, but I really don't know.
Oh, do you know who he might have done any planning or work with in America or abroad for this trip?
Well, everyone that he worked with in America went with him. They spent some time. Sir Aubrey Penhew of the Penhew Foundation was the one that kind of helped to grease all the wheels, getting from London to Cairo.
Right. We've also heard of Edward Gavigan being involved with the Penhew Foundation as well.
I don't know that name, but it wouldn't surprise me if Sir Aubrey had some retainers. Although why he wanted this trip to England, to Cairo, I don't really know. Maybe he needed the money. Everyone around Roger seemed to need money.
Well. Do you think Egypt was really his goal, or do you think the Africa was the ultimate destination the whole time?
I would have thought from the strange dreams about Egypt that my brother kept having that Egypt was the penultimate, but I have no idea what poison that Benet woman put in his head.
Yes, it does seem a little strange with all that he'd, for even period, decide to just take off. When there's so much they could still have done in Egypt. And if your brother was looking for any form of glory or finances, better chance in Egypt than Kenya.
I don't really understand. I had trouble believing myself that they were just going on safari.
Okay, this might be a really big long shot. This is out of character, by the way, but would I have to make a roll to see if there's any familial resemblance between the white Kenyan guy and this woman?
Sure, that would be, I guess, an idea roll. So intelligence check.
Hard success, Jesus.
Yeah, no, you don't think they look anything like each other.
Damn it. That would have been so cool. It's just like, oh my God, he was the dead brother all along.
Actually, that would have been kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. That's what I suspected. Don't you be pulling any tricks on me.
Surprise.
Well, so out of character again before this, we're kind of thinking after here from America, we're going to be going to Europe, right? Or Kenya, or basically after the Carlisle expedition, right?
Are you
think so.
asking me or are you asking your fellow players?
I'm asking my fellow
it-
players.
Yeah.
Depends what we find in the Juju house.
We survived the Juju house, you mean?
I guess. I mean, what are you thinking? That she can. I mean, we have the money to get there, probably.
Oh yeah, no, I know. It's just more of it's sort of just a statement of telling her what our plans are, that we're going to go try and track down what's his name, the one that was found alive, and try to figure out a little more what's going on once we've dealt with some issues here. I'm just trying to think of how to we've all agreed on that, because that's the stipulation in the will, right? And that's how to phrase that, and then see if we can perceive anything reaction from her.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's kind of pointing towards Africa, but
It's a big place.
one of the notes that we found says that the tribal magic is of no protection against the cult, and that the cult's god is not of Africa.
And then they also have
So it's gonna, yeah.
Was it Australia? Austria?
We had some Australian
Australia.
bat
That makes more
cult
sense.
stuff, and yeah,
So I say, well, yeah,
from the
we're just trying to
Aboriginal-
figure out. I said, we're executing the will of our friend, and we're going to follow up on his leads, and this take it where it may. Did your brother, the Carlisle, have anything other places other just than the England, Egypt, Kenya, Australia,
Shanghai.
Shanghai?
had some stuff pointing at Shanghai. Yep.
No, I don't really know of anything other than well, he stopped over in the UK on his way to Cairo, and then they ended up in Kenya. But that's really all I know. I don't know of anything in Australia or China.
Is there anything at all that you're still pursuing about this case?
No, as far as I'm concerned, my brother's dead.
Well, for all our sake, may he rest in peace, if that is indeed true.
I guess we can pull on this thread. And has your brother ever had any dealings with the Juju House in Harlem?
By God.
I'd be so drunk. I'm telling you, if this was
A
drinking.
Silas
he used
McQuarrie?
he used to go into Harlem all the time. But no, I've never heard of that place.
No,
Or
Silas Nakawi.
No, don't can't say I know that name.
What's the name of that other guy that we just heard the name of in the jail?
Oh yes, I've got that note up here.
But
Makunga Magawi.
No, it doesn't sound like anyone that I might know.
That's fair.
couldn't imagine that you would.
Anybody else got anything?
He's probably related to that Benet, which she just sounds so like such trouble.
Unless, oh, you must have had investigators looking for your brother and other things. Do you know of any of them have any background information on this woman that led him to the Dark Africa? Play up her.
No, I have no idea where he dug her up.
I was asking if you may have had investigators that maybe they had more information on.
No, no. After the expedition was lost, I mean, most of our resources went into trying to find them in Africa.
I'm out of stuff, guys. If anybody else can think of something, before maybe then we should wish her or thank her for her time.
I can't
Yeah.
think of anything.
My brain
So,
is kind of
as an afterthought, as she's about ready to leave, if you guys are ready to leave, she mentions that towards the end of his time at home, Roger constantly read several old books. She glanced through one, and what she read frightened her. It seemed to substantiate Roger's crazy actions. He kept those books in a hidden safe in the mansion library. Unknown to my brother, I knew of the safe and figured out its combination. I'd not thought to open it since Roger left for London.
Could we have a look at the stuff that troubled you? Wouldn't happen to be Africa's Dark Sects by Nigel Blackwell.
You're trying to collect them all.
No, I don't know that. I don't know that title. Make some sort of social skill, not intimidate.
God damn it.
I'm not very social. I see.
None of you took any of the good skills for an investigative game.
I read
Cthulhu,
Pulp,
man, come on.
mechanical science guy type thing.
Oh, I pumped up the occult and
What are you? Wait, what do we?
let me try.
Can anyone do this, or just
Sure.
Alistair? What do we?
I'm
I'm
slowly
looking for
building up
what my
charm,
best
maybe we'll
social
get a
skill
chance.
possibly could be.
Fuck it. I might as well try charm. Fuck it. Oh, look.
All right.
All right. So,
Charming bastard.
Jesse, I want you to tell me what Jesse says to manage that extreme success.
I'm not even sure what I'm rolling for. It's like super late. My brain is already like.
You're trying to convince her to let you have Roger's crazy old books.
You compliment her eyes.
Crazy old books. Crazy old books. It's in a safe. How did we already know this? Because I had this in my notes earlier.
I can only imagine he just says, like, wow, your eyes are really, really beautiful. Can you
What
lend us
books?
those books for a second?
You think she just said it's kept in a safe.
No, I knew this. I have this written down since before we played today.
The publisher had stuff in his safe. Remember, we talked about getting a safe cracker.
What books are in Carlisle's safe? I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of just. Yeah, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank of how I would get from safe to safe to charm, other than really just asking really nicely, I guess. But
Well, apparently
nothing that she did to me. I'm not a
she
very,
must
like-
be completely infatuated with your
Oh, I
southern
know.
gentlemanly ways.
We'll go with
It's
the
really
we'll
fucked
go
up.
with the danger guy. The danger guy angle. You know, the whole bad boy thing. It's just like just try to, I guess,
So she takes you into the library, and she opens up this safe, and there are 1, 2, 3. There are 4 books inside, and she offers to make a loan of them to you, as long as it will help you to investigate what happened to your friend. The books are
Bound in human flesh.
The books are, actually, I have them here in the back of my book here, because I didn't think you were gonna get to these tonight, but oh wait, no, maybe I don't have them here. All right, I know where they are in this book, and I will. So, Appendix C. So you have the Panoptic manuscripts.
What?
English, author and translator unknown, 15th century, quarto embossed red leather binding of a later date than contained in the manuscripts. Selections de livres divins. It's a French commentary on Latin, originally by Gaspard du Nord from the 13th century. It's an octavio, handwritten manuscript, bound in decaying blue calfskin. Amongst the Stones, English by Justin Jeffrey from 1918, handwritten, containing poems later found. That book is after your time, so anyway, bound in a very weird-looking leather. Like, you've never seen leather that looks like this before. Super, super dark in color, and just the texture on it is crazy weird.
Human flesh.
And then a book called Life as a God. It's English. It's by Montgomery Crompton from circa 1810. And this is also handwritten, also in some very, very weird looking leather. Although this leather's very light in color. Those are the 4 books that you find. And next session we can talk about what you might want to do with these books. But I think that is a good place for us to end for the evening.
Sanity damage.
Only
yeah,
if you
books. Wait a
open
second.
them. All
Okay.
right.
My guy doesn't read much. It's gonna be fine.
Let's talk offline about, because it's super late, about what and when we want to play next, but I'm guessing it's going to be after the new year, given our conversations offline that we've had.
More than likely.
So,
Just tell me the Sunday, I'll show up.
alrighty.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Guys, thank you so much. Everyone on the stream, thank you so much for all the generosity tonight with all the money raised for the charity. Thank you so much
Woohoo.
for all of that. I'm gonna hand everyone off to Official Row, who's another streamer friend of mine. I think he's also doing this charity stream. And he's playing some Dead by Daylight, so, hopefully I don't, put us in and all he's doing is playing backgammon. But, all right, everybody, thank you so much for all the help. Follow, like, and subscribe, and keep an eye on my Twitter, and that will tell you when the next gaming session is. All my players, thanks for playing tonight, and have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
You
Right.
too, Eric.
Good holiday, folks.
See you later.